season. As I say, it seems like sometimes it seems like it flies by, and sometimes it's slow. I mean, just different parts of the time when you're doing things, but very excited to be here, very excited about this football team. Not just because, again, we have talent and we have a chance to win a lot of games, but I think it has a very good dynamic to it and an urgency and a work ethic, and it's a fun group of guys to be around. Again, we have to continue to grow. We're by far not where we want to be, but no one is at this time of year. But you got to understand the steps and what you got to do, and you can't look at you have your goals and you set those things out there, but at the end of the day, that's not what you got to work for. It's a daily process of how to get yourself prepared to be able to go into those things, like taking a test and studying for a class. It's no different. You got to read every chapter. You can't bypass chapter 1 to get to chapter 4, and all of a sudden and understand how it all accumulates together. And that's what you have to do here, and build the depth of this team, build the identity of this team. And we'll see. Well, Rick said, well, how do you think? Well, 5 days in, it's been okay. I mean, but it's such a small portion of sample size in which we have to judge from. But I think there is an urgency. I think there's a great toughness to this team as far as competitiveness. I like the way they get after each other, and they're learning how to practice. And you can tell sometimes when guys play hard, compete, but at the same time respect the other guy on his team, because in today's time you can't practice like you did 20 years ago, just the way it is. And but still stay physical, keep the right parts of the game and what you got to play. And we all talk about a spread game today, but what you got to play in space and have all those checks. At the end of the day, you still got to block and tackle. At the end of the day, football's a game to me of take simple and get better. Make simple better. Because at the end of the day, it's about blocking, it's about tackling, it's about running, how you run the route. Not the route you run, it's how you run it, how you throw it, how you cover it. Knowing, understanding the intelligence of where your help is on defense, where your help is on the offensive line, where your help is in the backfield as a quarterback, what's protected, what's not protected. And you really think about it, it's taking simple and understanding and doing it better. And hopefully we can do that very well through this camp. Very excited about it. And I think all three phases, offense, defense, special teams, I think we can be very good in all those units. If we want to be the team we got to be, I've never been on a team that wasn't good in all three. I mean, it was not efficient and did its role in that develop this identity as a team. So that's our goal and what we're trying to get to. Questions?
On paper, at least, you talked about tests each week. On paper, at least, it doesn't seem to be a harder test than starting as the preseason #1. Have you embraced that, or do you look at like, well, they got playoffs too? I mean, how do you look at that?
They let playoffs too. I mean, at the same time, we have respect for them. Listen, I understand. I've coached with Nick. I've coached those guys. I know how they coach. But we will coach the same way. They got a great program. We think we were the 2 winningest teams in America in the last 7 years. I've been the head coach. That's the 2 winningest programs in America, bar none. That's what you want to see. And then everybody wants to see the best play the best. And right now, we're both considered the best. Now, whether we turn out that way will depend on the season. So I think it's a great opportunity. But it also is a great challenge. But that's what life is. That's what ball is. I mean, we're used to playing in big games. We're used to playing those environments, and we'll play in another one. There's no doubt. But I mean, they are a very good football team. We think we're a very good football team. Teams on our schedule. I mean, we turn around and we can't get caught up in a one-game deal. That's good. Remember, we play Miami, turn and play NC State, and we get down to Wake, who plays great defense, and we go into conference play. You still have Florida. You still got Louisville. You still got Clemson. You still got all of our conference opponents, BC. I mean, whoever it is. And again, I think our division in this conference, I think it's as good as anybody in America. And then we go put Florida and Alabama, which has been the top 2 teams in the SEC, on our schedule for the last 2 years. They played in the conference championship. For us to go schedule 2 big games, is extremely good in my opinion. We've done that a lot. I think our non-conference scheduling has been and will be as good as anybody's in the country since it started. So we're used to that environment.
Coach, what are some of the improvements that you've seen from your players during camp? Does the season feel different? Does it feel similar to 2013?
Well, I don't know that. I mean, the season, when it's over with, I'll tell you, it feels the same. Not joking about that, but camp's too early. But what I do see out of this team, again, when you hire somebody or you work with somebody, they're either motivated and urgent to do what they got to do and get better, or they're not. A lot of guys that have been in a position a long time. Some of y'all probably. Think about some of your years. How urgent have you been to get better at your job? All the time. Are you constantly on edge, or you get comfortable? What I see from this team is an urgency and a commitment and just a sense of they like each other, they play for each other, they like to compete. They like to compete against each other. I mean, some of the best friends out there, man, they're going at it nose to nose. Then when we call break and there's a 2-minute break, they're over talking, laughing, and joking. I mean, that's signs of great guys that respect each other and want to make each other better. Great teammates want to make the other teammates around them better by how they compete and how they impose their wills upon each other. And from that standpoint, I do like what I've seen so far. But other than that, it's only been 5 days, so it's tough.
You talked to the ACC media days about Everly and the difference pre-surgery and post-surgery. How limited was he last year?
He was limited. He really was. He was a lot of pain. And he's had to play through, he'll play through some soreness and stiffness early to get back. But it does matter in that regard. But at the same time, we played against some great defensive lines. We will again this year. Probably 3 of the top 4 in the country, or we got 3 in the first 4 games. They're great defensive lines. So he'll get tested early. But those injuries. But understand, football is that game. Name me a football player that plays healthy. Name me a football player that doesn't have. Every team in America has guys that have surgery after the year. You know what I'm saying? That's all part of that. And it's just like, when you realize something's going to be hard, when it is, you don't panic. It's when you think something's going to be easy and I got this, it does. And football's a game like that, in my opinion. That, listen, when I realize that, 1, my opponents are great, it's going to be hard. 2, I'm never going to feel healthy. And I think, but at the same time, people say, why would you play? Well, let me ask you something. Doesn't it prepare you for life? Football teaches you more than any game out there, in my opinion. I don't care what they say. I played them all. I played a lot of those games. Football is a microism of life. It's not fair. I'm sore. I'm hurt. This happens. That happens. I got to get it done. It's physical. It's mental. It's family-oriented with your team. When that guy's got a problem, all of a sudden, I got 10 guys right, and this guy's got a problem off the field. Something's happened with his family. Something's happened here. He's not as strong. That one leak can cost us a game. Well, how do I help him? Just like your brother, your sister, your aunt, your uncle, anything like that. The multiplicity because no game interacts like football. There's 9 guys on the field in baseball, but they're never all not as intriguing as far as that every moving part has an influence on every play. And it changes it. And I think that's what makes football so special. And the injuries, the different things that go on, man, it makes it fun. And to me, that's where the mental toughness and competitiveness all comes into.
Jimbo, the times that DeAndre got hit last year in the sacks, was that all the offensive lines, all in retrospect?
Never is.
And what do you, are you...
Just like every time a DB gets beat on the pass, it's not always his fault. Maybe the guy that you see, maybe another DB's fault, maybe a linebacker's fault, he turned somebody loose. Maybe there was a blitz and he's only had to cover for 2 seconds, but he had to cover for 4 because 2 guys went in the same gap and didn't get to the quarterback. One guy blocked 2. Sometimes the offensive line missed a block. Sometimes the tight end chip missed a block. Sometimes the back man missed a block. Sometimes a receiver may have fell down on a route. And we're getting ready to throw a square, and all of a sudden you're making a break, and he slips, the quarterback holds the ball an extra half second, and gets hit. All the things, that's what I say. Everything about this game, all 11 guys on the field are an effect of what happens on that play and how it happens. And there's no game like it. And anybody, if you're not the coach and know how it's coached or what goes on, you actually don't know why it was failed or why it was successful. It's like people ask me about a player sometimes. What do you think of that quarterback? I don't answer them. I say, I don't know. So why don't you? I don't know what he was coached to do. How do you know as a writer? How do you know as a fan? How do you know as even an opposing coach what the other guy was coached to do? That has an effect on what he does, on what happens on that play. That lineman, that receiver. You don't know. You need to say, well, that guy's blocking that guy. Well, maybe he's supposed to be blocking that guy. How do you even know is he supposed to get out? You don't ever know till you actually are there. That's why I don't pass judgment on other players. So what I'm saying, my point is there, the whole game of football is so intriguing now. And it's so intricate. It ain't like it was 25 years ago. It's much more complicated. It's much more because of technology, because of what you have here, because you have these things here, because of technology to be able to study film. It's become such an intricate game. And some of it's on him, maybe not processing. Some of it's on the back. Maybe he missed. Some of it alignment or receiver fall down on a route. Or sometimes they all got covered, and then you're processing through, and all of a sudden, there's just not enough time because you're trying to make a play. There's a lot of things that go into it. A lot of things.
Jimbo, some of your assistant coaches have been at other opportunities over the last few years. What does it mean to you when they decide they want to be at Florida State?
Well, I think it does. Hopefully we got something special going on here. They understand that everybody here, it's a great place to coach. We have a chance to be successful, but we're running an organization, have a culture that's conducive for them to want to be a part of in an organization. But at the time, change is inevitable. Guys are always going to move, but sometimes, like I said, I've moved in my job, but very few. And I think we get older guys too. I think as you get older coaches, sometimes you realize you're not chasing your tail. You got to make, coaches are very much like players and kids. What do most kids make a decision on? What gets them what they want in the next 5 seconds? It does. I mean, most of them do. And don't worry about how it affects tomorrow, or next week, or next month, or next year. And I think when coaches can do that too, you get frustrated, you get stuck in a spot, well, I don't need to change. Well, maybe that was a bad change. But that's what life is. Life's about choices. And I think when you've been around, we've got some guys who've been around, understand the importance of consistency, the importance of winning, the importance of culture, the importance of how you do things. I think that makes it harder to move. But at the same time, guys will definitely will move. I mean, but it's very rewarding that guys want to be a part of it.
Is learning the protection the most important thing for you in deciding when a back is ready to be on the field?
Listen, actually, people don't understand. Running back picking up blitzes is a very simple process. Extremely. I'll give you an example. You're the Mike linebacker, right? Matt, you're the back. You either got first pass or second pass. You know what that means? The first defender or the second defender pass the mic. So all I gotta do is listen to the mic. It's actually not that hard. The technique is hard. Blocking that guy can be hard. But the knowledge of it is really not that hard. Because your rules are based off the Mike linebacker. You ever hear Tom Brady go off just like we do? Mike's 52, Mike's 52. You know what that means? They're setting the blocking scheme for the whole play, whether it's run or pass. And what that means is you have rules. If I'm the back, he's the Mike. I got the first pass. Guess what? That's my guy. If I got first pass on that side, that's my guy. It's really not that hard. And I'm not, the technique is usually harder on them than the knowledge of what to do.
Is that one of those things where you get a guy from high school, he's been the star, but now he's got a...
Some guys, they never pass block, or they have never thrown the ball. You get in a program that has never thrown the ball, like, it's not that they can't run a route, you gotta teach them to run a route. You know what I'm saying? Or they can't pass protect, but you gotta teach them. And then it just takes time sometimes. And then again, bigger guys, smaller guys, whatever it may be. And then that's the intrigue about it. So, I mean, as far as that I mean, and I say that, I mean, played a lot of freshman back, young backs. How quick Carlos jumped over and played. Dalvin played early in his career. Freeman played early in his career. Won a national championship at LSU in the 6th game of the year, lost every back we had and played 3 freshmen the rest of the year. Every one of them. And we did the same offense we got now. I mean, and actually played better. It's just, it's not that hard. It's just, but everybody's learning curve, I keep saying this about young backs. It's not that that's so hard. It's coming in here so hard. How many times they ever sit in a room with this? How many times they ever go through this? How many times they go through a fan day? How many times they going to go through a school that's got 40,000 people in it? How many times have they ever been 3 hours from home? You can say all that. All that affects it probably more than it's, because it becomes excess clutter that they have to learn to live in before they can actually learn to focus. Sometimes it overwhelms guys. That overwhelms them more than probably the knowledge of playing, if they were just straight playing when you really get down to it. But it is important because at the end of the day, daggone, man, that guy's got to be protected. I mean, you've got to have him protected, and you got to feel confident in it. But I say this, some of our young guys have done a good job. I've been pleased. Our older guys definitely have, but the young guys have. And then the intricacies, what gets you is when they start crisscrossing, the blitzes and some of that stuff. But if you know your rules and you follow them, and then the other thing is just getting enough reps at it to see all the different things that go on. But the rules themselves are very easy.
Coach, speaking about access, there'll be a lot of hype about this opening. A lot of hype about the matchup.
You've got a lot of hype about this over
Yeah,
there.
I know. A lot of hype about the coaching matchup. Coach Saban is decidedly an anti-hype guy, always has been. How about you? How do you roll with like building up this thing?
I am too. I really am too. Listen, hype goes away. Fundamentals win. Being able to play, being able to focus, being able to play in the game. I mean, that's why I think, as far as us having the rivalry games with Florida, Miami, think about it, we got as many rivalry games. We're very unique. You know, I've never been anywhere like this, where you got two big-time rivals in Florida and Miami. And at the same time, you got an interconference rival. It's huge with Clemson. Now Louisville's emerging in it. I mean, when you have a great league, I mean, those things are all, but it does put these kind of games, it does allow kids to be in that atmosphere, which you understand how to play. Games that are hype games, they're more, when I say about hype games, probably as much for the fans as it is for us. All games are important to us. We don't take any game lightly, but at the same time, understanding all the hoopla that goes with it. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's very important. But I am, because at the end of the day, that hype, it all goes away. All those cheers go away. I mean, all that hype before a game. Now, it doesn't mean you can't be emotional, but are you prepared to play? And I think that's got to be the key component.
We have time for a couple more, guys.
Coach, DeAndre won Rookie of the Year last year in the conference. but he also lost a lot of his firepower on the offensive side of the ball. Can you speak on some of the players that you think will be able to step up and help?
Well, you got two of your receivers, two of your top three touchdown receivers, which are very dynamic. You got your tight end back, and you got Jacquez, who when he played very well. So I don't feel we've lost that much firepower. I think we'll be as dynamic as we've been. I really do. I think Nooney's playing well. I think Auden's really grown in a lot of ways. I think he's going to be really good. I think DJ, he pulled a hell hammy yesterday, but he was playing his tail. You see a lot and got learned very well. He jumped in there in that mix. I think young Cameron Terry is going to do well. I think George Campbell coming back will do well. The backs, Jacquez, and then those young backs, and I'm going to tell you, I keep saying it, number 22 was one heck of a player now. Rasul Vickers out of the backfield. You're talking about that fullback that's been as athletic and big and strong as we've had since we've been here. So I think in that regard, they got to go make plays, but I think they definitely can.
Coach, you're entering your 11th season at the program. How have you seen the culture kind of transitions from your first start here?
Well, I think we always had great culture here, but I think just understanding that how we approach things. The traditions here will never change because the fundamentals of the family, the God, the values with God and everything else, and importance of religion in your life and God in your life, and also being a family atmosphere and doing the right things and standing by the rules and doing all that stuff will never change. How we operate daily changes, but that the world changes. You have to because of the worldly changes that go on. The new people say, what's the next crave in football? Now all these RPOs and all that stuff. Well, the rules changed. That's why I allowed RPOs. Back in the day, RPOs were all penalties back when everybody was running the wishbone. You couldn't do those things. As the rules change, that changes. So I think what's changed here as far as the culture, that I hope we adapt to the culture, to what the rules allow and the game allows, and whether it's recruiting, whether it's player development, whether it's academics, whether it's personal development, all those different things. And I think what the culture has changed in it, you have to be so much more aware of where you're at and where you are because of those things right there. Understand something. Every second you're an athlete now, I think that's the biggest culture change for them. You're on film. They ain't just filming the game. They filming you 24/7. Think about that. Think about that when you were in college. I could write some stories on some of y'all in college. I'd like to have some of them stories written. Huh? Think about it. Think if somebody had a camera on you 24/7. Huh? Yeah, you get the grin.
We were talking to Brad Long earlier. He was saying that for him, one of the biggest things about the defensive side of the ball is the cohesion among the assistants, whether it be him, Charles Kelly, Odell, and the like. How would you describe what's it like to see those guys work together, interact on a daily basis?
Not just defense, it's the whole staff. See, that's where you get on defense, that's their segment. Mine is to make sure the staff understands that. Whether it's cohesion on defense, whether it's cohesion on offense, and more importantly, cohesion to offense to defense. I think that's even greater than the cohesion that goes on each side of the ball. Again, see, I always talk about dividing offense, defense. You don't do that. That's why we do everything as a team. And how the defense plays is in accordance to what the offense needs, and how the offense plays is in accordance to what the defense needs, and how the special teams are made. And I think that's the cohesion that has to grow. You can't look at it half. That's half a game. And because they play well and you lose, you win and lose as a team. And I think the cohesion as a unit and understanding how each side has to have the other is more important today than ever. And I think that's where staffs and people get in trouble because they allow that thing to be divided. And when you do that, you have a hard time winning. That's one of the greatest things of the guys and the mentors that I have. That's to me the greatest things they ever showed me, which I totally agree with.
Have you ever been on a staff where there was that?
Oh yeah.
What's that like to kind of be in the middle?
Not very fun. Because everybody's got their own agenda, just like players, just like a player now. Everybody wants to go to the league. Everybody wants this. I want to be an All-American. I want to win the Heisman. I want to do this. What are you doing for your team? And what's funny, the years we've had the most guys, you usually get the most guys drafted and you win the most games and everybody gets the most awards and goes and makes the most money and wins the most, all that. And the teams, they don't ever think like that. And it's hard for people in our day and time because you constantly have an article written, this written, somebody on the TV talking about you only. That's hard for these kids, man. It really is. That's the greatest thing you got to fight. And you do it within staff because listen, the assistant wants to be the coordinator wants to be the head coach. You have that. And it's always been that way and always will be. It's like in your business. You want to move up to the next thing. You want to move, and you got all the answers. He's wrong. If I was in charge, I would do this. If I was in charge, I'd do that. How many times you hear it in the world? And every business you're in. You know what I'm saying? I think that is the key ingredient to how things are done, and you got to understand each other. And I think that's what this staff does. I say that, and I'm not saying that about Brad. I think because then you gotta break things down. The whole picture, all right, now what's my job? Now how do we have cohesion to make what we want as a unit this way? Just like the receivers got to, like this week, the receivers' unity may be this, we're gonna run the football. We gotta stock block our tails off. We got a crack block. I'm gonna have to have some cracks on the linebacker. You're gonna have to do some things different. Next week, that back guy say, we gotta win this game. We're gonna spread it out and throw it. Guess what? You got a block. I'm gonna run routes all day. The unselfishness that goes in and how the pride in each unit affects the whole concept of your organization.
Jimbo, with your assistants, you, Coach Line, Coach Trickett, Dawsey, and I believe Coach Miller all work with Coach Saban. I know, new tendencies, new playbooks, they develop over the years, but how much of an asset is that for you going into this game that you have 5 guys that, very familiar with Coach Saban and what he does?
Can be good, can be bad. And what I mean by that is, it's like you get a tendency. Every team has tendencies when they do things, when they want to do things. You got them all down. What's he do as soon as he breaks that tendency? You know what I'm saying? Because when there's tendency, that's what creates a lot of big plays. You know what I'm saying? Guys change. You say, well, don't you do it all the time? Well, you can't do it all the time because you never create tendencies to set things up, at the same time. But you understand conceptually how he thinks and what he does. But I'm sure, guess what? That's been a while. I don't think the same I did all and everything when I coach with him. But at the same time, there's some base fundamentals. I know this. They're going to play very hard. They're going to be very well prepared. And they're going to be ready to play. That's I think that's what you got to hope for. That's the thing to me, the concepts you're going to know. But sometimes you think in situations, sometimes it can be helpful because tendencies that people have or personality traits that in certain situations, how they think from that standpoint. But, those that have to be at the right place at the right time.
In regards to closeness, you guys are always working together, always around each other. As far as, does that help you with when you're hiring assistants? Like, hey, I need to, with Coach Miller or Coach Lawing, they worked with Coach Saban, you worked with Coach Saban.
Common background, common things and fundamentals and beliefs. Because like you say, the hardest thing to do when you have a lot of changeover, like you said, sometimes you spend more time coaching your coaches than you do your players. To understand, and it's not a coach's fault, he comes in and doing, this is how I want things done. And there's so many parts of being a football coach, from recruiting to player development to coaching on the field to coaching that situation. How we look at things. So from that standpoint, coaching your coaches to make sure you're all on the same page. So if you do have people who understand how you want to do things, and it's very easy to explain to them, it makes the transition a lot easier. That's for sure.
Jimbo, Auden Tate, even going back when he was in high school, he wanted to be the next Kelvin Benjamin. He said that since he's been here. Where through 2 years is he compared to where KB was?
I'll never compare players because they're a little bit different type players. But you get at the end of the day, you get back to production. And at the second half of last year and after growing, he was extremely productive. And I've seen a lot of growth in him right now. His route tree and the different things he's done, his athletic ability, his flexibility, the different things, and his whole approach to how hard you have to work. Not that he didn't work, but it's like when you grasp it and like, okay, now I do this, and you saw it grow in the knowledge. He had a really good spring, and he's had a really, really good fall camp so far.
Looking at Chris, how difficult is it to kind of strike a balance between wanting to be that veteran leader, helping the captain, and realizing, but I'm in a position battle with them, I might be fighting with them for reps?
Everybody is. Start being part of a team and family. What you gotta do. That's at every position, not just him. That's part of it. There's gonna be an individual that you wanna be good, but at the same time, that guy's gonna have to be ready to play for you too, and you can't think that way.
Coach, I remember you saying Nooney has the potential to be, a #1 receiver for you. Where is he on that path? How?
Oh, every day. I watched him run routes on Derwin the last 3 days and kill him. No, he's growing different. And part of that is, again, understanding when you're #1, all right, I'm sore, don't matter. I'm hurt, don't matter. I got double team on, don't matter. Ball's here, that's part of being a #1. But I see him, his blocking. I just see him growing so much. I think he's gotten bigger and stronger. And again, a maturity factor. He's a junior. Oh, Lord, we hate to have a guy have to be a junior before he's a good player or a great player. To let him mature and grow. We want to shoot them after their freshman year. You know what I'm saying? But I like what I've seen out of him. He has grown. He's got continual growth. But here's the thing. He's got to have growth and show me what? All right, it's been 5 days. Where's 6? Where's 7? Where's 8? Where's 9? Where's 10? I can't go from 10 to 12. I got to be at 11. I got to do it every day. And I think from that standpoint, he's understanding that mentality so much better, which is allowing him to play a lot more consistent. And the guy he can do a lot of things. He's a very good player. Very good player.
All right, thank you.